there, fantasy owners. LTC Fantasy here. Not sure if you're chiming in, watching via YouTube or listening via podcast, but really do appreciate the watch or listen no matter how you're streaming the episode. Today's our Week 10 midweek waiver wire episode, so we're going to take a look at some goaltenders, defensemen, and forwards that are either on hot streaks or getting some opportunity because of injuries, etc. So basically, we'll get right into it. Some goaltenders to consider this week. Look at Stuart Skinner from Edmonton, owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues. He started 7 of the last 8 games, and in those 7 starts, he's had 5 W's there. So he is playing well. He is taking over the crease from Campbell. Campbell's been struggling, so look for that to continue and him continue to get more starts there. Another one's over in Buffalo. Look at Ukko-Pekka Laukkanen there. Kind of a mouthful with all those vowels in that name, but owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues. He started 4 of the last 5 games. He has 2 wins in those 4 starts there. And his save percentage and goals against has a bit to be desired, but he is getting a couple of W's mixed in there while Comrie is out. And the last one is Peter Kochetkov over in Carolina there, 46% owned there. He started 8 of the last 10 games for Carolina, and he's won 4 of his last 5 starts. While Anderson is out, Kochetkov is taking over the crease there. So pretty good value play while Anderson's still on IR. Should be able to help you out for a week or 2, depending how long Anderson is out there. Before we get into the defensemen, I'd like to ask you to subscribe as we're trying to grow the channel. Hopefully you're getting some value out of these episodes, and we really would enjoy the support there. So there's my little plug. We'll get into some defensemen now. We'll start over in LA. Look at Sean Durzi, owned in 50% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second pairing, second power play unit, and he has 10 points in the last 9 games there. So over a point per game for a D-man, pretty damn good. 6 of those 10 points are on the power play, 11 hits and 21 blocks. He's been on a really good streak right now, been on a pretty good tear. Well-rounded, helps you out in multiple categories. So should be a pretty good ad for you if you can fit him in on your roster. Next one's over in Arizona. Look at Shane Gostisbehere, owned in 46% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit, and him, like Durzi, has 10 points the last 9 games, so over a point per game for a little stretch there. Plus 5 in the desert, a plus player. There wasn't a lot of them last year. 16 shots on goal and 10 blocks. He's on a nice little run right now. It seems pretty much since Chychrun came back and he's been paired with Chychrun, he's really went off there and he's feeding off of that. So look for that to continue as both are healthy right now. Next one is over in Philadelphia. Look at Travis Sanheim. Up to 8% owned, still low ownership, but that's actually shot up a fair bit there. He's on the second pairing, second power play unit. He's been pointless the last 3, but he put up 9 points over the previous 9. He gets a pretty good amount of shots on goal, blocks, and hits are okay there. Not the greatest, hits are mediocre, but blocks and shots on goal. And he was over 30-point D-man last year, so you know the offense isn't going to hold up to 9 points over 9 games, but he is going to get you some production. The blocks are there, shots and goals there. So depending on the format, could be a pretty nice fit for you. Going over to Anaheim, look at Cam Fowler, owned in 19% of Yahoo leagues. Playing top pairing, top power play unit there. He has 10 points in the last 12 games, so pretty darn nice production there. 22 shots on goal in those 12 games, and 9 blocks, so a decent amount of blocks for an offensive guy. He's been producing for a while, like the last month has been really good for him. Anaheim can be a little bit scary because when you look at their win-loss record, but production-wise, he's been fairly solid other than plus-minus, so depending on the format, should provide some pretty nice depth value for you. Next one's over in Carolina. Look at Brett Pesce, sorry there, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues. Playing second pairing, second power play unit there, and he has 5 points in the last 7 games there. Game on Tuesday is still going on. I believe he did get an assist on the first goal, and in those 7 games, he's also had 13 blocks, which is a pretty nice number there. He's be a pretty decent D-man for your deeper leagues there. Of course, in a standard league, you're probably thinking more streaming status, but in a deeper league, should provide you some pretty good value. Over in Minnesota, look at Jared Spurgeon. Owned in 53% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 4 points in his last 6 games there, 14 shots on goal, 8 hits, and 11 blocks. He's decent in most cats. His offense has been a little bit streaky just because he's not on the top power play unit right now. Addison is. But with that, you still get value in other categories. So depending on formatting in your league, could be a fairly decent depth piece. Speaking of Addison, he's the next one. Calen Addison from Minnesota, owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues, playing third pairing on that top power play unit, and he has 7 points in his last 9 games there. 5 of those 7 points being on the power play. So he'll rack you up some power play points, decent point totals for a D-man. His other categories are a little bit low, so you're looking at him more of an ad if it's a scoring league, not a cats league. But depending on the formatting, should provide some decent depth for you. Over in Seattle, look at Vince Dunn, owned in 56% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, top power play unit there, and he's been pointless the last 4 games, but he put up 8 points over the previous 8. So overall, he has pretty nice numbers. Could be a fairly solid depth piece depending on how your league is formatted. He's more offensive, little light on hits and blocks, still gets you some. He's not throwing you bagels in those categories, but could be a decent depth piece in a deeper cats league or a standard scoring league there. Next one's over in Montreal. Look at Mike Matheson, owned in 10% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing top power play unit there. He has 5 points in his last 6 games there with 12 shots on goal. He is listed as day-to-day, but was playing well. So do check his health status before you do add him, or if you can slide him into an IR slot, depending how your league considers IR slots there. But he should be an okay depth piece once he returns. Over in New Jersey, look at Jonas Singenthaler, owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues, playing on that top pairing there. He has 5 points in his last 7 games with 10 hits and 15 blocks. He's been pretty decent of late, not known for his offense, but he's chipping in of late. The value is in hits and blocks, so he's more of a deeper Cats League move, because if you get any offense with him, it's going to be more of a bonus, because you shouldn't really be counting on him to produce for you, but he will still get you a decent amount of hits and blocks. Over in San Jose, look at Matt Benning, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 9 points in his last 10 games, so damn near a point per game, with 19 hits and 30 blocks in those 10 games. So he will get you a ton of really good numbers in the hits and blocks department. And he's producing because he's getting opportunity, getting some power play time there. San Jose's blue line is pretty thin other than Carlson. Ferraro's out with an injury, and with that, he is getting some opportunity and he's taking advantage of it. So in your deeper leagues, Benning could definitely provide some value for you. Last one is Noah Hannafin in Calgary, owned in 58% of Yahoo leagues, playing top pairing, second power play unit there. And he has 6 points in the last 9 games. And in those 9 games, he has 17 shots on goal, 13 hits, and 22 blocks. As you can see, he's a pretty well-rounded defenseman with those numbers. So in a Cats League, should be a fairly good depth piece for you. In a deeper scoring league, he can get you some points. He had 48 points last year. Can still provide a little bit of depth there as well. Move along to some forwards now. Over in Buffalo, look at Dylan Cousins, listed as a center, owned in 57% of Yahoo leagues, playing second pairing, top power play unit there, and he has 16 points in his last 11 games, so pretty darn hot there. I believe he also got an assist tonight. That game's still going on. In those 11 games, 40 shots on goal, so fires a lot of rubber on net. 6 blocks in those 11 games, so over a half block per game is pretty good for a forward there. So what else can I say? He's really exploded of late, and he's been keeping it going for a while now, so he should be a pretty good depth piece for you going forward. Next one's over in Winnipeg. Look at Blake Wheeler, listed as a right winger, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line and top power play unit, and he has 15 points in his last 11 games. Do believe he also got an assist tonight. That game's still going on as I'm recording here. 32 shots on goal and 8 blocks in those 11 games. Basically, he's about as hot as it can get right now. So if he is available, I would be snagging him. Over in Vancouver, look at Andrei Kuzmenko, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues, playing third line up on that top power play unit, and he has 14 points in his last 11 games there. 6 of those 7 games were multi-point games, so he gets them in bunches. He's either going to toss you a couple of points, once in a while a single point, or a bagel there. So if you can kind of stomach those bagels and take advantage of those 2-point games, he could definitely add some value for you. Over in Philadelphia, look at Kevin Hayes, listed as a center, up to 34% owned, on the second line, top power play unit there, and he has 9 points his last 9 games played there, 38 shots on goal in those 9 games, so averaging over 4 shots a game for the last little bit. That's a ton. So obviously he gets you a lot of shots on goal. His offense has been pretty consistent throughout the year, so if you do add him, you know you're going to get some consistent value out of him. Next one is Cole Perfetti over in Winnipeg, listed as center, left wing, and right winger. Do like that you can place him anywhere in the forward ranks. That really helps out with heavier nights. He's up to 26% owned. He's on the top line, second power play unit there, and he has 9 points his last 9 games, so point per game for a little bit here, with 25 shots on goal. The kid's been rolling of late. He's stuck on that top line for a while now, and he's continued to produce. So definitely, depending how deep your league is, should definitely squeeze some value out of him. Over in Toronto is Michael Bunting, listed as a left winger, up to 53% owned, on the top line, second power play unit. Currently has 10 points in an 8-game point streak. There, he continued it tonight. Actually, he got another one, so it's a 9-game point streak anyways. 9 hits and 6 blocks in those 8 games. He is an energy guy on that top line. He buzzes all over the ice. He was really good with Matthews and Marner last year. He's been pretty good, especially recently with Nylander and Matthews this year. So you should be able to get some piggyback points and get some consistent value out of him. Over in Boston, look at Taylor Hall, listed as a left winger, owned in 58% of Yahoo leagues there. Plays on the third line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 12 points the last 12 games, so a point per game for a nice little stretch here, with 45 shots on goal. So definitely fires a lot of pucks on net. He can be streaky. He definitely was earlier in the year. He's been fairly consistent of late, so maybe that's a sign. And with consistency, he should be able to provide some value for you. Next one's over in Minnesota. Look at Joel Eriksson-Ek, listed as a center, up to 61% owned, centering that third line on the top power play unit there. And he's put up 13 points his last 12 games, with 39 shots on goal and 8 blocks in there. He also wins a lot of face-offs. If face-off wins are counted in your league and he's available, definitely get some serious value there. But he is well-rounded and fairly consistent. So with that, should provide you some decent depth. Over in San Jose, look at Logan Couture, listed as a center, up to 54% owned, on the second line, top power play unit there. And he's put up 13 points his last 12 games. So really nice run for him. And he has really nice numbers in all cats. He gets you a decent amount of shots on goal, hits for a forward, blocks for a forward, decent amount of face-off wins. His plus minus. He does play in San Jose. That's not the prettiest, but there's a blemish on most players. You can find a little weakness there. His would be plus minus. But in a Cats league, for sure, he'll definitely provide you value in multiple categories. Next one's over in Buffalo. Look at Jack Quinn, listed as left winger, right winger, up to 21% owned. On that second line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 11 points in the last 11 games. Believe he got an assist just before I started recording there, so put that as 12 points in 12 games and counting. 22 shots on goal. That second line in Buffalo has been rolling. Buffalo can definitely pot quite a few goals. So with that, you should, especially in deeper leagues, get some value out of Quinn. Next one is over in Tampa Bay. Look at Corey Perry. Corey who? Listed as a right winger, owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line and on that second power play unit. The vet's been good for a few weeks here, having 7 points his last 7 games with 12 shots on goal. The old vet is still chipping in a little bit, so definitely in a deep league, you should be able to get some value out of him. Chips in the odd power play point. He is a pest, and he's been in the league a while. But with that, if it's a non-keeper deep scoring league, you should be able to get a little bit of value out of old Corey there. Next one is Adam Ruzicka over in Calgary, listed as center left winger, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the third line, second power play unit, and he has 7 points the last 7 games, and in those 7 games, he's also a +6, so that's a little added value for you. He's been pretty decent of late, and could provide you some decent depth in your deeper leagues. Not your standard leagues, but your deeper leagues could provide some added depth for you. Next one over in San Jose is Thomas Hertl. Listed as a center, owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues, playing on that top line, top power play unit there, and he has 14 points in his last 12 games, so over a point per game for a while. Other than his plus minus, just like Couture, his other categories are pretty decent, so especially in a Cats league, you're going to get some value out of him, and you'll still get some value in scoring leagues because he's right around that point per game, maybe just a hair under, hair over, not 100% sure on his overall number, but right around a point per game forward, decent in most categories. Could be a really nice depth piece for you. Over in Seattle, look at Matty Beniers, listed as a center, owned in 45% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line, second power play unit. He's been hot, 14 points in the last 10 games there. He's 28 shots on goal, 17 hits, and 8 blocks. The kid, he's just his really first full year in the league. He had 10 games last year. He's been a pretty well-rounded player, producing, getting you some hits, getting you some blocks. With that, especially in a keeper league, you should look at him. He could provide some pretty nice depth for you going forward. Next one's over in St. Louis there. Look at Ryan O'Reilly. Listed as a center, owned in 38% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the top line, second power play unit. And he's fired 7 points in the last 9 games there with 18 shots on goal. He also is great at getting face-off wins there. If that's counted in your league, you'll definitely squeeze some value out of him. And in certain formats, he'd be a pretty nice depth piece, the old veteran. Over in Florida, look at Carter Verhaeghe. Listed as a left winger, owned in 65% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the top line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 5 points the last 6 games with 23 shots on goal. He gets you a lot of shots on goal. He plays on Barkov's wing, so that's a little bit of an added bonus where you can get you some piggyback points. So with that, just how well he plays with Barkov, shots on goal, certain formats, he'll be a fairly decent depth piece. Going back to Seattle, look at Andrei Burakovsky, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 62% of Yahoo leagues there. Plays on the top line, top power play unit, and he's fired 12 points in the last 9 games there, 24 shots on goal. Realistically, he's been good all year. He's been fairly consistently getting you some points. So especially in your scoring leagues, he's going to be a really good depth piece for you. Going to Arizona, look at Matias Maccelli. Listed as a left winger, owned in 3% of Yahoo leagues. Plays on the second line and second power play unit there. He's put up 9 points over the last 8 games, so over a point per game. But other than points, the other category, shots on goal, hits, blocks, those are really low. So realistically, in a deep scoring league is where Maccelli's going to add the most value for you. If you can kind of swallow a lack of shots and goal, hits, etc., might bring you some value in other formats. Going to Columbus, look at Boone Jenner, listed as a center, owned in 44% of Yahoo leagues there, plays top line, top power play unit, and he has 7 points the last 7 games there, 18 shots on goal in those 7 games, and 11 hits. So nice all-around categories there. He's been fairly consistent this year, been playing with Goudreau pretty much the whole year. With that, he should be a fairly decent depth piece in most formats. Going over to Detroit, look at Andrew Kopp. Listed as center, right winger, owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues. Playing on the third line, second power play unit there. And he's put up 6 points the last 6 games, so a decent little run over the last couple of weeks there. It took him a bit, but he seems to be starting to get it going there. He has been a little inconsistent, so realistically, he should provide depth. It'd just be more in your deep leagues before I'd take them in your more standard leagues. Next one over in Washington, look at Dylan Strome, listed as center right winger, owned in 28% of Yahoo leagues, playing top line, top power play unit there, and he's put up 9 points the last 12 games, so decent amount of offense, 26 shots on goal, and with the decent offense and in deeper leagues, he should provide okay depth for you. Going back to Seattle, look at Jared McCann, listed as center left winger, owned in 18% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line, top power play unit. He's been fairly decent for a nice little stretch now, having 10 points over the last 11 games. In those 11 games, plus 10. That's really, really nice plus-minus number there if that's counted in your league. 25 shots on goal, 13 hits. He's had a fairly good season there. It's been kind of overshadowed a little bit by Burakovsky, Beniers, and company there. But overall, in the right format, he should definitely provide some value and nice depth. Next one, going back to Vancouver, look at Ilya Mikheyev, listed as left winger, right winger, owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line, second power play unit there, and he has 8 points his last 11 games with 22 shots on goal. His okay offensive numbers there, chips in a little bit in other categories. With that, in a standard scoring league, you'd like to see a little bit more, but in your deeper scoring leagues, etc., could be a fairly nice depth piece for you. Last one's Victor Arvidsson, listed as left winger, right winger in LA there, owned in 29% of Yahoo leagues, playing on the second line, second power play unit, but do ignore him because he's been really good this year, but he just been put on the non-roster status, so it's unclear when he will return. If you can squeeze him in under an IR slot, definitely fit him in because he's been pretty consistent this year. Should provide some depth when he does return, but not quite sure when he will return. That's it for today's episode. We'll be out in a bit with our weekend ads episode. If you did like it and you're watching via YouTube, remember to hit like, hit subscribe, remember that notification bell. If you're listening via podcast, hit that heart, hit follow, hit subscribe, depending what platform you're listening to it on. And we'll talk to you soon, and good luck, fantasy owners.